If you want to get lower input delay and get as close to zero ping as possible on Fortnite, I've got you in today's video. My name is V Prospect, I'm the owner and founder of Team 21. In today's video, I'm going to be telling y'all how to get lower input delay in Fortnite so that your game can be faster and respond way faster. This works for both console and PC, so no matter what you're playing on, I've got you covered in this video, so let's get straight into it. First off, and very briefly, I want to say that what input delay is basically the time between you pressing a button and it actually happening on screen. And in Fortnite, a small delay can ruin your reaction time, your edits, and your overall gameplay, so it's very important to get lower input delay because that means a faster response and that means better plays. So let's get straight into what are the best settings for low input delay. Let's start with the in-game Fortnite settings that will help reduce input delay. First off, go right over here to this button and open the settings. We're gonna go over to the fourth tab with this little controller logo right here and scroll all the way down until we find replays. You're gonna go ahead and turn off record replays, turn off record large team replays, and turn off record creative replays. Turning all of these off will free up the system resources, make your game run way smoother, and it's definitely a must. And another minimal but very helpful setting is to go over here and turn off your motion blur because that will help your delay a lot. And now if you're on a new gen console or a PC, you can go back to your settings, and since I'm on a new gen console, I can turn on 120 FPS mode, whereas if you're on PC, you can turn on performance mode. Turning on these settings will definitely help with your delay, with your consistency, and I definitely recommend using them if you can use them. But now I've got a couple PC specific settings that I'm going to go over real quick, and then we're going to talk about some controller specific tips. So if you're on PC, first off, of course, use performance mode, but also set a frame rate limit. You should cap your FPS slightly below your max refresh rate. For example, if you're 144 Hz, cap it at 140 FPS, because what this does is keeps your input consistent and it prevents stutters, and stutters are very annoying when it comes to delay and trying to play the game, you know. And two more big tips is to disable VSync because that causes major input lag. Always make sure it's off. And also to have lower graphics. If you set your view distance to near or medium and turn everything else to low or off, this of course will make your graphics look worse, but your game run smoother. This is why you have people doing potato graphics in performance mode and bubble builds, you know. But let's move on to talk about some console tips for lower delay. So, console players, here's how you can cut down your input delay. First and foremost is to use a wired controller. Using Bluetooth or wireless controllers adds a tiny delay to your game, and wired is significantly faster and more stable. And another huge one is to use a 120 Hz monitor if you have a next gen console, because this allows you to use the 120 FPS mode that I mentioned earlier. And for PS5 and Xbox, I have two quick little tips that'll help you. So if you're on PS5, go to your console settings and disable HD rumble and disable adaptive triggers. It may take you a little bit to find these two, but disabling them will help your delay a lot. And if you're on Xbox, you can go to your power settings and set it to performance mode. But that's about it for our console only tips. Now we can move on to talk about some network and hardware tips that you can use no matter what you play on. So I would say the number one biggest tip throughout all of this video, the biggest thing that I think you should do is to make sure you play on Ethernet and not Wi-Fi. Because wired internet, which is what Ethernet is, means lower ping and more responsive gameplay. Because even if your Wi-Fi is good, Ethernet is just that much more stable and that much better. So I definitely recommend getting an Ethernet cable, connecting it rather than using Wi-Fi, a wireless connection. Up next is to use a monitor and not a TV, because monitors are made for gaming. They have way lower input delay than TVs do, so look for one that has 1 ms response time and you're golden. But using a TV kind of sells. And also make sure you don't have any background apps open. If you're on PC, close your other tabs and windows and apps. If you're on console, make sure you don't have other updates running in the background that are slowing you down. But that's about it. That's all the best ways that I know to lower input delay in Fortnite so that your gameplay can be smoother and more responsive. If any of these tips today that I talked about helped you out, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel because we're trying to grow to 15K before the end of the year. But I'll catch you in the next one, so thank you for being here. Peace.